And even if you're thriving, because I loves the heartbeat of big cities. There is a frequency, a currency, truly a heartbeat that you feel, but that doesn't mean it's not taking a toll on my body with all of that hitting my form, because there's also a natural rhythm of my body, right? We call it a circadian rhythm. We have a biorhythm. We how all of these things we know that occur. And so the rhythm of that city doesn't necessarily match up with the rhythm of my body. And that means that I need to be aware enough of my body's rhythm to say, okay, I can take so much of the other rhythm that maybe my soul loves, but maybe my body doesn't necessarily love so much. So I need to understand, just like I detox from digital input and I detox from foods that I love to eat, but maybe my body doesn't always enjoy. So I'll do a detox that way or a cleanse. I also need to be able to detox from all the sounds that are coming at me and all of the movement because of the sound. So why wouldn't I go get away from all the sounds that are coming at me? Not only the sound that I'm making, because talking creates its own sound too, right? There's the reverberation of the sound that is coming out of me. And I talk a lot. I talk a lot. So I have sound coming out and I have sound coming in. So taking some time to get away from all sound, out into nature, out somewhere, and let my body have a good solid 24 hours where it just doesn't have sound coming at it all the time and it can reset. That's not too much to ask. Do that once a month or once per quarter. That allows your body to get back into its natural flow and it can feel better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's contrast therapy. And so we know it works, in one area. It makes sense that it should potentially work in another. I don't have the science to back that up at the moment, but I am not a scientist, but I can tell you from the research I've done and what I've personally implemented, it's definitely worked for me. I used to be in a situation where I always had to have music on, or a TV or something on in the background to constantly, just whether from the car. And the moment I got out of the car, I had to throw headphones on, or have my if I was by myself, just have music playing, or more recently podcasts or things like that. And once those kind of came in, always something in the background, even when I was doing work or, back in school, if I was doing homework, I had to have music going on. When I was golfing, I would either, if I was golfing by myself or practicing, I had to have music. If I was, even if we during tournaments, we weren't allowed to have that. So I would just sing, like in my head, I would just keep singing songs and things like that, just to keep just the flow, the distraction going. And then the more I realized the importance of stillness, as you kind of supported me through that process, and not kind of, you really did support me through that process, to be very clear with my words. It was interesting to see where, although now I enjoy it still, I enjoy some music, and I like listening to a podcast while I'm doing some work or doing the dishes or something like that. If it's not on, it doesn't bother me anymore. And because I have found such a sense of intention and clarity and connection, and I have a better relationship with silence. Prior, I did not have a good relationship with silence for the very reason you were talking about. It was scary. The moment it was a silence, I was like, yeah, I would kind of clench up and then be like, why? This isn't, silence shouldn't be that big of a deal, right? And stillness, not moving for a little bit, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, constant movement, constant noise, we get in a state of almost accepted chaos, and then we allow ourselves to live in that forgetting what else is possible, forgetting that there are variations, and forgetting that we can actually, the times that we are at our best, I would offer, like in sports, when I was ever in the zone, I wasn't singing a song in my head. I don't even, it was just pure silence. It was almost to the point where I don't even remember, I had no thoughts, it just was being. Right? We get so caught up in this human doing of things that we forget about our human beingness.
Almost like you blipped somewhere.
Yeah.
And you do hear a lot of people, especially in spirituality, they'll talk about the gap, right? There's some gap. But in this case, it's like that gap and dot where you're not actually having thoughts. There's like a gap in your dots. When I really experienced the gap was when it happened after I got to that point where I could be with myself in pure silence and stillness. Until I reached that point, I did not understand what anyone was talking about when they said you have the gap. When I reached silence plus stillness, I reached the gap. That's the best way I could explain. I have had the question about that personal progression and getting to being present in the moment and how I remain present on a consistent basis. That too, if I'm really thinking about it and I'm in this conversation, being present in it, that was a huge part of that progression. Because being able to be present with self, be present in silence, be present in stillness, allowed me to be present with thoughts and without thoughts. It is equally as scary when you have no thoughts. And I resisted that greatly in the beginning, to have no thoughts coming through. You begin to almost feel as though, wait a second, we've been so conditioned to believe we need to be constantly thinking. But when I am present in a moment so much that all I am doing is being present and feeling, that's so different. Had I not been able to get to a point with myself that I can clear and be silent and still, I would have not necessarily reached that place.
Very profound, my love. I love the application of that, and just the reminder that if we're so caught in constantly needing distraction, then we are in this loop of not being in direction of our own lives, because we're letting an external determine our internal state. And what I love about what you're saying is, like, if we have, let's say we have a feeling where life is chaos and we say we're out of control, and the reality, like, control's an illusion, but like we're not able to direct our lives. We feel like everything is happening to us, not happening for us or with us. The world is against me, all these things. Well, it might be worth taking a step back and understanding, how dependent am I on external distractions in my daily life? Because I would offer, the more that I got out of that dependency on the need for distraction or chaos or sound constantly around me, then the more I felt more in direction of my life, because I could go within. Everything was going more from the inside out versus the outside to the in, and to what you were saying. And I could feel myself more. I didn't feel like the world around me was defining who I am. I felt like instead I get to choose. So it's a very strong practice that has many, many layers.